Welcome to this week's episode of Primetime Football. I'm your host, Sam Oko.
And I'm Ben Smith.
On this week's show, we take a look at all that's happening in the week in the world of soccer. We have some Champions League play, some Europa League play, but first, let's look at what's happened this past weekend in the Premier League. Ben?
And today we have a lot to talk about. Today's top story, obviously, is Man United runs away with the Premier League. They beat Aston Villa today, 3-0. Ryan Van Persie has a hat trick. No surprise that they are the top team in the Premier League, and finally they've sealed it. So, reaction?
I mean, it's not really that big of a reaction because we've known this ever since, I'd say, 2 months, to be certain, because as soon as they took pole position, they kind of ran away with it. In particular, I hoped and prayed that Aston Villa would win today, but it didn't happen, mainly because I wanted them to win over the weekend, because Saturday they still match up against Arsenal. And I don't know, I feel like, if Van Persie would have won then, and for the Arsenal fans to see that, the fact that over the last couple of years, every single Arsenal player that has left Arsenal has joined another team and has actually won a title. I mean, you have Fabregas and Song with Barcelona. I think I mentioned in the...
That was a great point that you made earlier. And Samir Nasri going to Man City.
Manchester City, and they won. So I feel like, for me, in terms of, it adds the whole... Because you know for a fact that throughout the whole season, Arsenal fans hated discussing the whole Van Persie topic.
A little animosity there, sure. And quite frankly, you were wishing upon a star, actually, if Aston Villa was going to beat Man United today. But no, they thoroughly thrashed them 3-0. For those of you who don't know, Aston Villa is in the bottom 4 in the league. They might be facing relegation if Wigan can get it together.
Yes.
But surely no surprise that Man United won today.
What other games stood out to you on the weekend?
Well, this weekend they had Liverpool-Chelsea matchup. Definitely one of the top flight groups. They're fighting it out for third spot in the Premier League. And then there was Tottenham-Man City. A little disappointing from the second place Man City squad.
Let's go with the Tottenham game first then. What stood out to you throughout the whole game?
Well, Samir Nasri scores in the first 5 minutes in this game, and I think that it's away. And all of a sudden, no development for almost 70 minutes. All of a sudden, Tottenham comes back, and in 6 minutes, they score 3 goals from the 75th minute to the 82nd, starting with Clint Dempsey's stuck a foot out and scored a goal, and that was the beginning of a comeback, epic comeback.
The one thing, obviously, like you mentioned before, Manchester City's defense kind of lucked out of it. They just weren't in the game. But the one factor that stands out to me throughout this whole thing is the fact that Tottenham now have Gareth Bale back.
Yes.
When he got injured, most people thought it was going to be a lengthy injury. That's something that would put him out of the game for quite a while. But that didn't happen. Now that he's back, Tottenham seem to be back in winning ways. And I think it was last week they got knocked out of the Europa Champions League.
Yes.
I wonder if that would have happened if Gareth Bale was on the field.
Well, Gareth Bale is a very unique player. He kind of plays the Juan Mata role where he spreads the ball around to all the people who can put the ball in the net. And not only them, but he can actually score himself. So obviously that's a huge boost to have him back. Yeah. But frankly, the bigger story here is the City collapse. This is a team that obviously is in second place. They're, head and shoulders above the rest of the group as far as Manchester football goes. But they can't get it together. Their defense is playing bad football, and they couldn't put it away early. They should have been up 3-0 at halftime like Man United did today, and you can see that one team takes care of business and the other one just leaves it on the pitch. It's not good football, and it's not going to get you anywhere in the Premier League.
Well, that's why they're in second place right now.
Yeah.
But the other game that stood out to me this weekend was obviously the Chelsea matchup. What do you make on that one?
Strange football this week. It's very strange. They had a problem with Luis Suarez in the 77th minute, I think, biting the Chelsea defender.
Oh, you're talking about the
Ivanovic.
He bit Ivanovic.
Starting an internet frenzy. Some of these memes coming out now are funny.
It's quite hilarious. But in terms of the game, it's a game that when I was sitting there, I was watching it, and I was thinking to myself, well, halftime, in the first half, Chelsea were in control, playing really good, fluid football, Liverpool were out of it, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't control, couldn't get a touch of the game. Couldn't barely got the ball out of their own half, and that took on the whole game. Second half, completely different story. They took out Coutinho, brought on Daniel Sturridge, and I've gone on record saying this to all my friends all around. I think it was a big mistake right now, well, for the season, for Chelsea to get rid of Daniel Sturridge, because actually that proved it. Because as soon as he came on the pitch for Liverpool, he lit it up.
Totally changed the dynamic of that game.
Changed the whole game. He was involved in one of the goals, and that minus the Luis Suarez handball that caused the Eden Hazard PK. Liverpool, as soon as Daniel Sturridge came in the second half, Liverpool were controlling the game. Chelsea's defense and midfield were not getting a touch of the ball. They found it hard to get the ball out onto Liverpool's half.
Yeah, and all silliness aside, I mean, this is another game where Chelsea couldn't put it away. They were dominating the first half, should have been up more goals. They were only up 1 goal, and eventually conceded the equalizer.
In the 90th minute. 96th minute, to be correct.
Yeah.
With the last play of the game also. That's quite... this actually just adds more fire to the top 4 finish, because now with that win, the top 4 looks like this. Or you have the league leaders, Manchester United, who've actually clinched the title today. And then you have Manchester City, 68 points.
And Arsenal won this weekend too.
Yeah, and now in 3rd place. So the biggest thing now that we have the whole league, the league has already been secured, Manchester United. The biggest thing now is trying to figure out who's going to qualify for Europe next week. Because there's some cash ties to that.
Yes.
In terms of revenue, and that's the biggest thing. Right now, I can't pick any. I think...
Well, we asked the same question a few weeks ago, and I said that it really wouldn't shake up. But, I mean, here the 3rd place Tottenham is down in the 5th spot now, and they seem to be missing Europe.
But it's quite weird because, well, the biggest tie, I'd say, obviously here, Tottenham and Chelsea have a game in hand. That's because 2 weeks ago they were supposed to have a game. There's supposed to be a Chelsea versus Tottenham game that got rescheduled.
Yes.
And I feel that might be the biggest game, the biggest matchup
Of the season remaining.
Yeah, well, to determine top 4 finish, because
there's really no other meaningful game because the Premiership has already been decided, and basically, like you said, the top 4 finish is what these teams are competing for now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is very tight race in here. Tottenham at 61, Chelsea at 62, and Arsenal at 63. I mean, anybody can. It's up for contention. Anybody can win.
Certainly, we'll see what happens next. But moving on, let's look at the FA Cup. The FA Cup final is set to be
Wigan Athletic and
Wigan
Manchester.
Athletic versus Manchester City, and it's set to take place in May 11th.
It's coming up quickly.
It's quite quickly. What do you have winning this matchup, or what do you expect from this matchup?
I like Manchester City. I mean, for all of their shortcomings this season, I think that they've shown that they belong there. At least Wigan Athletic is a team that certainly isn't in the top form,
top
tier
top 10 of English football. Yeah.
Not to be underestimated by any means, but I like Manchester City here. I think it's going to be a dominant performance, either 3-1 or somewhere along those lines.
I mean, I do see it, like you mentioned. Well, actually, I do see Manchester City winning the title, or FA Cup title. But only because of this. They'll be motivated, having been knocked out of the Champions League.
Yeah.
The FA Cup is the only title that they
have
can
to play
have
for
to their name this season. So with that, I think they'll aim to rectify whatever defensive troubles they've had in the season, just to kind of focus in for this one game.
Well, I sure hope so, because if this doesn't motivate this squad, I don't know what else will. They've been very underachieving all season, and frankly, I think they should have put up more of a fight against Manchester United, at least for the Premiership. Something they didn't do. Hopefully their defense will get it going.
Right. Also happening, other events happening this week in soccer. We have the Champions League coming back after a week off, and also the Europa League coming back.
Yes.
What matchups stand up to you?
Well, excellent Champions League matchups. We're into the semifinals now, and this is where it starts to get very heavy. A lot of these teams have a lot to play for, and quite frankly, I love the matchups this year. I think that this is going to be one of the best semifinals ever. You have Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, both from the Bundesliga playing. La Liga opponents, Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it could go either way. We might end up with an all-Bundesliga final. We might end up with the El Clasico game. So, I don't know. Debate.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Between the games are going to happen on Tuesday. Well, the first game is going to happen. Bayern Munich versus Barcelona. Do you have a particular team that you see will win the first leg, or even advance?
If there is a matchup that calls for an upset, I think it might be this one. I think Bayern Munich has definitely the capability and the squad put together this year to beat Barcelona. They've looked beatable at times. They have been beaten by teams like Celtic, and I think they even lost to Malaga, another La Liga team or Portuguese team. And I think that it might be a Bayern Munich-Real Madrid final. I like that matchup.
Certainly want to see. The other matchup is Dortmund versus Real Madrid. Are you trying to say that Real Madrid is going to advance?
See, this is so hard to call because I have a personal stake. I love Borussia Dortmund. I think that their players they have a very great young core of players that could go far, especially in the Champions League and show the world what they really have. But unfortunately, I think that this is Real Madrid's year. I don't see anybody, in fact, beating Real Madrid. I think it's their championship. I think that they've been rolling and that they're not going to stop. Not for.
Can we make this official right now? Are you saying that Real Madrid are going to win this year's Champions League title?
I don't want to put a ribbon on it yet.
Can we put you on record right now? I'm putting you on the spot.
You can put me on record as saying that I like Real Madrid to win this year.
In terms of my choices, I think the Barcelona Bayern Munich game is going to be a lot closer than people think because Bayern Munich has a really good team, like you said before. For the first leg, I'd like to say, if you put me, the fact that it's a Bayern Munich, it's going to be a Munich. I feel it's going to be a 2-1 win. I'd like to say
for Bayern
to Bayern Munich. Yeah. Because actually, the game
that puts them in strong position because
it does
of the away goal rule.
Yeah, it does put them in. Well, no, because they're home. Bayern Munich is home. Barcelona.
Yes, but Barcelona only scores one goal on the road. And
here's the thing: Messi has been injured. Well, he came. The games that they've played without him, he hasn't been as strong. So I think that's a big factor to it.
Absolutely.
I mean, over the weekend they relied heavily on Fabregas to win their last matchup, which I'm trying to come up with an equation where I see Barcelona coming out of this. But I tell you this, I have Bayern Munich advance to the next round if Messi goes missing. If he's not there, that's basically it.
Well, this is a team that, as a whole, has also struggled at times too, because as with the AC Milan matchup, it's not that they can't score goals necessarily; it's that they were allowing deep penetration. Yeah. And I think that this squad, Bayern Munich, is just so good offensively that they will have a shot. I see, at home it could even be like a 3-2 or a 3-1 win. I see them scoring goals.
Don't forget the fact that Bayern Munich made it all the way to the final last year and got knocked out of it by Chelsea. So I think that
in a disappointing, heartbreaking loss.
To
Chelsea.
Certainly, but it was a lovely game. Having that, all the players, or most of the players that are on the Bayern Munich team right now, were there in the stadium. They saw what happened, and now having made it all the way to the semi-finals, this is where you start believing that yes, our name can be on the cup.
Absolutely.
You're just 2 games away from the final.
All these teams should be thinking championship at this point. I mean, even Borussia Dortmund, who might be written off by many, should be putting up a good fight. I expect a great series between Borussia and Real Madrid. That's not to say that Madrid will roll over them, but they play good defense. And that's honestly the best thing, the best quality that you can have in this Champions League, is playing strong defense, good midfield.
Well, with that being said, that's all we have for you on this week's episode of Primetime Football. Join us next week.
Hope to see you then.